Welcome everyone to the Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Centers Virtual Connections webinar. This is our 22nd session over the last 2 or 3 years. And my name is Jeff Reed. I am the founding director of the Georgetown University Entrepreneurship Initiative. And I'm thrilled to be here with you all today. We have some amazing panelists and a great topic. So let's get ready to get into that. First, just a quick commercial for GCEC. If you're new to this organization, welcome. Please join us. The Global Consortium for Entrepreneurship Centers is an amazing collection of people all dedicated to entrepreneurship education, universities and colleges from all over the world. We come together to share best practices, to learn from one another, and collaborate. These monthly webinars are one of our programs. We have a huge annual conference. This year it'll be in Dallas, Texas in October. And we also have a really cool awards program and a monthly newsletter and a new LinkedIn group, and just lots of great ways to connect and collaborate with one another. So welcome to the GCEC. If you're not already a member, please join. Next up, let's dive in here. We've got 3 amazing panelists plus me. And they're each going to give a brief kind of overview around this topic of fundraising and entrepreneurship centers. And after each of their presentations, we'll have some time for Q&A. I'll lead some questions with them, but we strongly encourage our audience members to chime in using the chat function here in the webinar. And I'll go ahead and in advance ask our panelists to feel free to chime in on the chat at any point you'd like. So I'm going to introduce them one by one. We're going to go with, well, I'll introduce them all now, and then I'll give them each a chance to do their thing. So first of all will be Darlene Ajayi from Bowie State University. I love Darlene. We've known each other for many years. I think we were chatting about the number before. I'm excited to hear about the great things going on at Bowie State. After Darlene will be Paul Jakes at Michigan State University. Go Big Green. We're excited to hear from Paul. And then following that will be Bruce Leach from DePaul University. I want to give a big shout out to Bruce and DePaul. Thank you for allowing Georgetown University to win a Big East Conference basketball game this year. So
it was rigged.
The only one, I think, in a long time. So with that, I will take down the slides and I will turn it over to Darlene to let her tell us what's going on at Bowie State. Over to you, Darlene. I can't hear you, Darlene. I think might still be something wrong with the sound there.
How about now?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Got it now.
Okay.
Yes.
So always a little technical issue. So thank you, Jeff, Nadine, and Holly for the invitation, for the opportunity to share our Bowie story. So just give me a second while I bring this up and share. And just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Yep, we see it. We see the full view. You can do the slideshow if you want.
Okay. So just a little bit about me. I started at Bowie as a volunteer about 6 years ago, just coming in to help with their pitch competition. And then after the pitch competition, oh, can you help with the summer launch program? And I did that. And about 3 months later, I came on as a contractor, remained as a contractor for a year, and then in 2018 became a staff member. So it has been a journey with Bowie, but I have loved every single minute of it. And a little bit about Bowie: we are located right outside of Washington, D.C., about 20 minutes. We are a suburban campus and a public institution. We're part of the University System of Maryland. 537 about 540 undergrad students, about 900 graduate students. We have 27 undergraduate programs, 2 doctoral programs, 18 master's programs, and certificates are where we now see maybe our sweet spot. So we are a relatively small institution compared to the surrounding Washington, D.C. universities. Our entrepreneurial journey, when entrepreneurship was first launched as a vision and an opportunity for students, it was within the College of Business, and the resources, the opportunities, the pitch competitions were limited to the College of Business. In 2017, and on the arrival of a new president, it became a university-wide initiative. And around 2018, an executive director was brought in for the first time that reported to the College of Business, but bringing in the executive director was at the wishes of the new president, because she really saw entrepreneurship as one of her strategic missions. In 2021, again, with our president and being part of her strategic plan, and entrepreneurship was so focused and embedded throughout the university, we had a 543-bed building built. It was the Entrepreneurship Living and Learning Community. It opened with the residential portion, and then we are connected on the first floor level of that Entrepreneurship Living and Learning building. In 2022, we became an entrepreneurship center. It was not an easy journey. I think we probably started 4 years, almost right after the president got there, to become a center, and was finally recognized as a center in 2022. A little bit, about our mission, I would say it's pretty much, we consider ourselves the hub and go-to resource on campus for entrepreneurship among the staff, faculty, and alumni. We do report to the Office of the Provost. In 2019, we were removed from the College of Business and assigned or reassigned under the Office of the Provost. And because it is now, entrepreneurship is a university-wide initiative, we work with all students, all disciplines. Like most of your universities, we have our signature program, which is our Bulldog Pitch Competition. That's how I originally came to Bowie. With the pitch competitions, we offer a Bulldog Venture competition. So now we have a signature pitch competition in the fall semester and now in the spring semester. We also have as a result of the new building, we have now launched an Entrepreneurship Living and Learning Communities, a fellows program, along with an Ask an Entrepreneur. And I will admit, the least financially impactful is the Ask an Entrepreneur, and it's our most successful series, Ask an Entrepreneur. It's really one of our best and most successful programs to date. So our staffing model, as of December, prior to December, we were 2 staff members, myself and the executive director. In December, we finally secured enough funding to bring on an administrative assistant. We have 5 contractual staff, and by contractual staff, they are on 6-month contracts. We have 3 graduate students that work with us. 2 are graduate assistants, and 1 is an intern. And we have 4 undergraduate interns. So we are, compared to where we started, and we're a really small team within our Entrepreneurship Innovation Center at Bowie. We, as a state institution, we have our institutional budget, the beginning, and we're in a budget process right now. We submit what our projections are in terms of funding needs, and we sit back and we wait until probably June 30th for our July 1st budget to be released. And philanthropic is where we see that's where our opportunity comes, because our state budget has restrictions. So for instance, with our state budget, we cannot provide students with cash awards for pitch competitions. And I'm assuming it's similar at other state institutions. So the philanthropic effort is really where we are able to bring on our bring them on and then provide them cash awards, provide prototyping funding, We also started 2 years ago in receiving federal grants, and we're putting that in the category of earned income. So earned income is something fairly new for us, but we're hoping that through collaboration with other universities and other departments on campus that we will continue to grow with our earned income opportunities. So our funding model, I shared earlier that we had funded our staff, but out of our state budget, we only have 3 individuals. So the Office of the Provost actually funds our undergraduate interns. Part of moving from the College of Business to our new building, when we were in the College of Business, even though we reported to the Office of the Provost, we never had to worry about the building. We never had to worry about opening and closing the building, who was maintenance. All we had to do was pick up and make a phone call, and everything was taken care of, and another department handled unlocking and opening the building. Now that we're in our own suite, we have a lot more responsibility. So the Office of the Provost did provide funding for undergraduate interns, because now our center is open from 8 to 8. And so those interns are sort of there to help additional bodies as we stay open later in the evening. The 2 graduate assistants are funded. They receive their tuition stipend and a small compensation to be graduate assistants. They're assigned to us for the entire year at 20 hours a week. And one of our graduate students actually runs our makerspace. So, without them, we couldn't have even opened the makerspace. The Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, 2 of our contractual staff are actually funded through them. We have 2 of their staff members that are on loan with us, and they give us their time when they have any short spans in their work schedule. They also fund part of our summer launches. As we do our summer launch program, the students that participate in that actually receive a stipend. And then they also have funds available, so student travel. So any student that is participating in a pitch competition or some type of presentation at a conference, the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs will actually fund their travel costs. And then we have the Title III office here on our campus. They have funding for bringing in guest speakers, for honorariums, and other miscellaneous accounts. Now with that, we do compete with the entire campus for Title III funding, but it has worked well for us in the past. Some examples of our campus collaboration, where in some cases, for instance, career services, and I'm here in Baltimore today participating in an event. So we actually shared the expense of the bus coming to Baltimore with career services. And student organizations. For instance, our MIS department, we are looking to update our website. So the MIS department, their students are working on our website, and in exchange for their services, we provide a small donation to their department for scholarships. We collaborate with Greek Life, Office of Auxiliary Services. Those are, whether it's an exchange of services or collaborating and cost sharing with those departments. Some of the external collaborations are with school districts. If schools are coming on a visit, we may offer to pay for the bus, the district will pay for the lunch, but it's a way of getting the students on campus and giving them that full college experience. And so that's my overview. I'm open to any questions, comments, suggestions. And again, this has been a journey. I will say it's been a fun journey. So I'm certainly looking forward to the other 2 presenters and hopefully some new takeaways and some new ideas. All right, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darlene. It's great to hear from you. Thanks for sharing that overview. And you do have at least one question already in the chat. So
okay.
Check it in there. If you don't mind taking down your slides, we will shift over to Paul Jakes from Michigan State University. We know there's been some unfortunate things happening on campus there not too long ago, but we're excited to hear what's going on from the Entrepreneurship Center. So Paul, over to you.
All right, everybody see that okay?
Yes, looks great.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. And Darlene, thanks for the overview. That was great. I didn't go into too much of the history of university. If anybody does have any questions of who we are, what we're working on, please let me know. But I'm going to jump right into the resources and the financials that we have. Just so you know, in the beginning, our name here at the university, we're the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. That is what our center is called. Oops, go on to the next. So it sounds like many of our centers have bounced around to many different areas, from business school to foundations to provost. And I've talked to several of you about that, but just wanted to start out in kind of order where we went, where we started. So we're about 11 years old. I've been with the center from day one, ups and downs, lefts and rights, but going in a very, very good direction. We were very lucky to get the MSU Research Foundation to fund us in the very beginning. So that was our sole funder from the beginning, along with the faculty side. So it started on the student side and the faculty side. And about almost 2 years ago, we broke off from the foundation with that funding. They're still funding our resources, but we are back inside university. So the majority of us in the group of us are back inside university. So we are under the Broad, the business school here at the university, but our minor and students going through our program at Burgess are open to all students in grad and undergrad. So as many of you say too, and Darlene said, also we do get some funding from the provost. We had a short stint in between there when we left the foundation to sitting under the provost for a little while, trying to find our home before we went into Broad and the business school. But we still do get a good amount of funding from the provost's office, which is very helpful. And I suggest to any of you that don't have that, it's very advantageous to reach out to them to see what funding they have, because there's a lot of resources they have, and they want us to get up in the rankings. They want us to grow our groups. So it's a great group to get involved with. Service providers, I wanted to put this one in here because this is only a few that we have locally. I've talked to several universities in the past that have asked how we get some of these. Sometimes we're approached by companies that reach out to us and say, hey, how can we sponsor or fund a certain event? Or how can we fund those students to really go through our program at our credit union or bank? How do we get attorneys to work with us to set up entities, do trademarking, do provisional patents? Or how do we get an accounting firm to work with them on their taxes or their financials? These three right here, along with a few others, they do fund a yearly sponsorship of what they do. We've set kind of parameters of what they can do, where they're at. We don't generally have exclusives per se. And it's not, I've been asked this before, it's not really a pay to play. We do other outside resources. We don't just use Foster Swift for attorneys. We have others that have different IP expertise or different things like that. But these are the ones we generally try to work with as much as we can as they go through our process. With alumni funds, I just wanted to show a few that we have. I think there's 7 or 8 here. We've been very gracious from our alums that come through and give us funding from, on the smaller end, anywhere from $2,500 up to $500,000. And these funds come through generally on some type of scholarship that go directly to a student, of a combining of a group of us of a choosing that is on a yearly or bi-yearly basis that we pick these individuals. Most of the ones that are, as you know, coming into our centers, working hard, pushing on their ideas and moving that idea forward. Or there may be a need if that student is coming in and maybe they're early stage but needs some type of that funding to push that idea forward, or starting a new program. One of the ones I wanted to highlight that we have is the Shaberg Scholars, is a new one that we just started because we're starting to dip into high schools. So we're recruiting into the high school area where we have scholarship 10 students to come in and get scholarship to go through not only our minor, but our venture creation program, and they get funded by the Shaberg Scholars program. So that's been a really good one as we move forward. I can see us adding lots of funding and lots of dollars towards that. Oops. This is the biggest one I want to explore and talk more. And I'd say the most uniqueness of what we do is on our endowment side. This is a couple of them we have, but these are a couple of the bigger ones that we have. So we've had this endowment from day one. To be honest, the university and us didn't know what to do with it in the beginning because it was a decent amount of money. And how do we deploy this money to the students? So I devised a way to really grant this money to the students in a way of seed funding for them. So any student can come to us, work on their idea, and really get some of the seed funding. The uniqueness of it is we did hire a group of interns. We do every year, anywhere from 16 to 20 interns. We fund them and pay them to work for these students for free. So anything from graphic design, web design, maybe they need help with CAD work, legal help, marketing help. We pay these students to work for our student startups for free. And that's been a huge help on our side, that early stage stuff. Of course, there's going to be ones that are further along that need outside resources, but this has been super helpful. And we do use these endowment funds to do that. Then if the students do need to pay for that stuff, if they need to pay for that provisional patent, if they need to pay for travel, entity formation, anything to move them forward, we dip into this seed funding to give them the funds. Now it's unique because they have to be a student and the money does go into their student account. So goods and bads with that comes in as a grant, but we got to make sure that the students are okay to get the monies, that their balance is zeroed out, so that they don't owe parking tickets or food or tuition bills. We have to make sure that's clear before they can take that out as cash. But we generally do not pay fees to outside providers. For example, legal fees. If a lawyer charges $1,000, we don't get the bill. The student gets the bill, but we pay the student to pay for them. And that's worked with us very, very well. But we're looking to gain more on that on the endowment side, because that has been super helpful. Something that we can draw off of every year, mattering how the market's going. It matters the size of how much we pull every year. And that's it on my end. Lots to go into about university wise, but that's us on our financial side and how we're moving forward, and can answer any questions that any of you have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate that. And I see Darlene still getting a lot of Q&A through the chat, which is awesome. I encourage anyone to keep asking questions of any of our panelists and use that chat. I'll have some questions coming up in a little while. I'm taking some notes here. But next we'll go to Bruce. So Bruce Leach from DePaul University in Chicago. Bruce, you are on.
Thanks, Jeff. Good sharing all of this with you guys. All right. I assume we're good to go. Yeah,
That's good.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me talk to you a little bit about funding. This is a presentation I've done at a couple of the GCEC conferences, which seems to have generated a lot of interest since we all got to figure out how to pay the bills at some point. So I'm going to just give you a little background on how we're set up here at DePaul, because I think from a comparison standpoint, it's good to share best practices with each other, which is what the GCEC is all about. We hosted the conference back in 2018, and I've been on the board with Jeff and Holly and a number of you since then. So the Coleman Center, we've kind of got three missions: to empower, educate, and accelerate our students, alumni, faculty, staff, and community members. Being here right in the heart of Chicago, the business school is right in the loop. So we have always looked at being as inclusive as possible. So if we host workshops, events of any kind, typically we'll have about 60% students, 30% alums, and about 10% community members. So the diversity in the room of that cross-section of people has been great. And we continue to kind of look at how we build our programs to support those three constituents. The center itself was founded in 2003. Many of you know Harold Welsh, who was one of the early pioneers in entrepreneurship education, started teaching family business back here in the 80s, because a lot of our DePaul students, about 40% are first-gen college. A lot of them come from family businesses. I came from a family business myself. But back in the 80s, we weren't teaching skills to go to work for your family business. So Harold saw that opportunity and jumped on it. And it's really kind of set the stage for entrepreneurship education as we know it today. So we're very grateful to Harold. From 2003 to 2016, we literally were just a center from a program standpoint. There was no physical center. In 2016, when I joined, I had the good fortune that my predecessor did a capital raise, and we now have a 5,000 square foot center in the heart of the business school. So we've got, we're part of the management department, which when they realized how important entrepreneurship was becoming, they actually changed the name to the Department of Management and Entrepreneurship, because I told them the marketing department might be wanting to wrestle it away from the management department. So that was a wonderful little internal battle, but we're officially branded that way. So the physical space is great. We hold workshops and events here, up to 60 people, and we've got some private conference rooms that students and alums, so forth, can use. Again, it's open to all students, alumni, faculty, and community members to work on their skills, as well as potentially start their businesses. And I tell all of my students that they're DePaul for life. If they get out of here, go work for a big company, and the culture's terrible, the boss is horrible, and they want to come back and dust off their idea, we're here to help support that. We've got about 80,000 alumni in the Chicago area, so I certainly want to be an open door for that. On the academic side, we have a BA in entrepreneurship, so you can major in entrepreneurship here at DePaul. In the last couple of years, we've finally rolled out our minor for entrepreneurship, both for business majors and non-business majors. When I got here in 2016, I thought it was a little weird that most of our business entrepreneurship curriculum was being taught senior year and only to business students. And I think to this day, the entrepreneurial education of most startup founders is still a liberal arts degree, that creative mindset. But our liberal arts students couldn't take an entrepreneurship class. So now I'm thrilled that that we could have a music major minoring in entrepreneurship. We also have a MS degree in entrepreneurship at the grad level. So I think we've got most of those boxes checked as far as the curricular side. I personally launched a Management 270 a couple years ago, Intro to Entrepreneurship. Again, pushed it through, took a little bit of time. As many of you know, the academic process is a little slow, especially if you've been in the business world as an entrepreneur. But we got it pushed through, and it's open to all DePaul undergrad students. So I now have freshman music students mixed in with senior accounting students. And while that's an interesting challenge to teach, the diversity in the classroom is spectacular. And I know a lot of us on this call have really expanded entrepreneurship outside the business school. I think there's a ton of sessions on that at GCEC every year. And I'm just thrilled to see that we're able to move this curriculum across the university. Shifting into the financial piece for us, our funding model, we're blessed to get endowment earnings every year off the Coleman Foundation endowment. So that's about $140,000 a year, which covers a full-time program manager, Kathy Hernandez, who we just hired. We had an open position for about a year, so we're thrilled that has been filled. And she was a former student of mine and just doing a great job. We alternate. We have typically about 3 part-time students. We pay them about $18 an hour for about 20 hours a week. We do limit that so that studies stay first. Actually, they're able to do 25 hours a week, and our international students are limited to 20 hours a week. We can expand that up to 40 hours a week during spring, winter, and summer breaks. And they're really the backbone and the lifeblood. It gives them phenomenal experience, because within the 4 walls of the center, I think we look and act very much like an entrepreneurial venture. And they come out of here after a year or two with some phenomenal experience on the resume of helping us with all of our programs. We typically try to get them junior year. So we've got them at least for 2 years. I feel like a basketball coach constantly recruiting. We have 2 graduating this spring that have been great, and we're in the process of training their replacements now. The university covers my salary, so I'm paid as faculty, so I don't encumber the center with my salary. In addition, the university did a capital raise to build out the center, and they absorb the overhead costs of the center, rent, utilities, and so forth. So beyond that, then we have about 30 board members. When I took this job, I was on the advisory board, but there were only 3 of us on the board, and started to leverage my network and the alumni network to build this up to about 30 board members. We do have a $5,000 ask per member each year, so that gives us about $150,000 of money to primarily put towards student-focused programs. Because if you do the math on all of this, our overhead's pretty much covered either by the endowment or DePaul. So when I go out to raise money from our board or sponsors, unfortunately, in a nonprofit world, nobody likes to pay for overhead, lights, people, etc. But they love, donating to student-focused programs. So we're blessed to have the overhead covered so that any donations we bring in can go directly to student programs. And in talking one-on-one with our board members, besides their engagement of their time, we also try to target them on which of our programs would they like their money to be earmarked for. So I'm going to jump into this. So what we did, I think it's a bit unique, at least I've been told. I wanted to give advancement and our board a tool so that if they were on an airplane ride or sit next to somebody at Starbucks and had the opportunity to talk about what we do, and if somebody then wanted to whip out their checkbook, we wanted to give them a menu of offerings that they could support. And so what we did, and I'm not going to read through all these, but we went through every program that we run here. Some of them we run every year. Some of them are depending on whether we get funding to run them. But I thought, well, let's get it all out on paper, and then Advancement's got an easy tool to talk to donors about, where we've got this menu pricing pretty much for every activity, depending on how much they want to donate. So one of our most popular programs, as I know many of us have in our schools, is our internship program. We run that every summer. Emily Doyle, who has moved over to run our venture fund, has been running this. We have about 25 students every summer. We pay them a $2,000 stipend for about 125 hours of service. And they go work for an entrepreneurial venture, not necessarily a startup, and we have some nonprofits as well. So that's a great opportunity for our board to have impact on a specific student. We do have the student write a quick reflection paper at the end of the summer about what the internship meant to them. And we make sure that the donor gets that feedback, because it makes them feel really good. In fact, this program got so successful, one of our donors who's on our advisory board said she wanted to have even more impact. And we took her to lunch, and a week later, I came walking in, and sitting in my inbox was a check for $100,000. So tremendous In fact, she's an alum at was an alum from Michigan State, Paul. So sorry about that. Anyways, but that lets you know the impact that you can have with these type of programs. So the rest of them I'm just going to go through real quickly. The Student Innovation Expo, we're actually having that next week. We have about 10 students with a little exhibition stand. They'll display their business ideas. People walk around during the afternoon, vote for their favorite teams, and then we'll distribute about $10,000 in scholarships. Again, most of the money here is coming from our board, and they want it to have an impact and a focus on student-facing programs. So these are a couple of our top programs. We also have, many of the universities, Rice in particular, where Holly is, and Brad Burke, they have a phenomenal business plan competition. So as is TCU, and there's so many to list. But our students occasionally do enter these competitions, and if they are lucky enough to travel to the school, we raise money to help pay for their trip. And that's another thing that some of our board is interested in supporting. Our big pitch competition, which I think pretty much everybody on this call probably has one, comes up in the spring. We call it Purpose Pitch because we want to acknowledge and award that a lot of our students are developing purpose-driven businesses that are doing good in the community and the world. We have 4 final student teams, 4 final alumni teams. Again, here's the alumni connection. And then we'll have them do a live pitch at 1871, which is our incubator co-working space here in Chicago. And we'll distribute about $25,000. So here at times we will get sponsors naming it. So it's a great opportunity for a sponsor to get their name on a particular event. We usually have a fundraiser every year. We haven't had one since pre-COVID, but we're going to have one in the fall since it'll be our 20-year anniversary for the center. So we're now starting to work on looking for sponsors for that. We have a great pitch competition in the summer. We've held it now for about 5 years. We're going to have it again this year. But we have Michigan State, Iowa, Illinois, Illinois Tech, Northwestern, Wash U, University of Chicago, all competing in the summer. Each school has 4 undergrad teams presenting their business ideas, and then we pick the favorite team from each school and they do a live pitch. So if anybody's around Chicago in the summer, around the last week of July, it's a great event. So once again, we look for sponsors for that to help cover the award money and running the event. We've got workshops during the year, research stipends, again, paying for us to go to GCEC or USASB or CEO, which are typically the trade show conferences. We have a fellows program where we pay a stipend for faculty in the other colleges to work entrepreneurship modules in their programs. And then we have kind of a weekly breakfast series. We haven't done this since COVID, but these, again, if we can get sponsors for some of these, we would bring these programs back online. I run a London study abroad program every December. I used to live off and on in London for several years, so it's like a second home to me. We have about the cost of our trips between $3,500 and $4,000 per student for about 12 days. They pay their tuition cost on top of that, but the $3,500 pretty much covers airfare, hotel, all the touristy stuff, and most of their meals. But it's a really great opportunity for donors to have an impact on a student. Again, they would write a quick reflection paper if the cost of their trip was covered by a donor, how grateful they are. For most of our students, it's their first time outside the US, so huge impact for them. We belong to a couple of local incubators, and so we've got dues to join those incubators. So those are also donor opportunities. And then we participate with Loughborough University in London on a venture crawl, which is coming up in March, where we'll put students on a bus, kind of give them a tour of the startup ecosystem in Chicago, And then we'll beam our friends from Loughborough in the morning, and they'll kind of tell us what they're doing over in London that day. So again, all these things have a price, and we've tried to price it out accordingly. We do some social impact programs. Again, if we've got the money, we were able to do more of those. And then finally, we have a social impact incubator. It's an 8-week boot camp. We're running it right now on Monday nights. It's a mix of students, alums, and Southside business owners. At the end of the program, participants get a $1,000 stipend. We have 15 people in our program. And we're right now launching our angel fund called the Helper and Venture Fund. So they'll actually have the potential of getting somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000 investment from our angel fund. We have yet to make our first investment. The donation, the $2.5 million donation came in from a donor, and we put our charter together with thanks to USC, UCLA, Michigan State. I stole some of their best practices on how to launch a venture fund out of this. So we'll be moving forward with that this year as well. Pictorially, we have a brochure, and I'd be more than happy to send the PDF to anybody on the call. So all of this menu stuff that I just gave you, we put it in a nice brochure for advancement to hand out to people to illustrate all of the menu items I just went over. And then for our corporate sponsors, we've kind of done, again, menu pricing. If they were to give us $10,000 a year, all the good stuff they would get for that, which is basically attending our events and their logo plastered everywhere and so forth. So each level, we tried to increase what they get. We did some best practices around this, because I think the difficulty for us is picking a dollar amount and then what they get for the dollar amount. I mean, what's fair for both for the donor and the school. So I did a little bit of research with some of the other universities, and this seemed to be the range that people are asking for, and then what the donors get for that money. And you can certainly play with these numbers in the menu items to fit your individual centers. So the $50,000 level, and then the $100,000 level. And I mentioned that member of our advisory board that gave us the $100,000 check. I'd like to say we got more than one of these, but that will, that was the big one from last year. And so I never thought we'd have to come up with $100,000 number, but it was kind of nice. And then we do have some donors that like to give in-kind donations as well. One of our donors is in the printing business, so he has his company print all of our printed materials during the year. And so we value what that would be if it was cash, and kind of include that in our menu pricing as well. And then this, again, in brochure form, we wanted to make it easy for advancement to present this. Like, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bruce. Appreciate you sharing that. I know that menu might be something others want to see, so we'll have to check into.
Absolutely.
Just a quick question. When the management area decided to rename with Entrepreneurship, did you get any revenue for those naming rights for that deal?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
That would have been a great idea, Jeff. Thanks. I'll go play that one back.
Yeah,
We missed that opportunity.
usually have lots of money to spend on things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so there's some good, robust chat going on here in the Zoom chat. It looks like a little informal survey going on around big challenges, so feel free to chime in there. But I have a question for all three panelists, I guess, and I'll start with Darlene. You mentioned earned income being maybe part of the future. And so that's, I guess the question is, what do you see as opportunities around earned income? And then Paul or Bruce, if you have any earned income opportunities in your center, would love to hear what those might be. But Darlene, what are you guys thinking about when you're thinking about adding earned income?
Certificate programs in entrepreneurship geared towards the community. I don't know if you noticed in our mission statement, we talk about students, staff, faculty, and alum, but we are surrounded by a whole community that are really reaching out and looking for quick programs and how to launch and grow a business, business plan workshop. So we see that as earned income. We also see the K-12 population, summer programs, winter break programs as opportunities for earned income.
Awesome. Anybody else? Paul or
Yeah.
Bruce, do you guys do anything to earn income?
We don't. We have talked about certificate programs. We've talked about different online programs. I think we'd be open to it, but as of right now, we don't.
Yeah, Jeff, we, Maya Renko, my PhD colleague, and I launched a online entrepreneurship certificate program. It's coming out in April. We hit the recording studio pretty hard last summer and didn't get things wrapped up in time to launch it earlier, but we're launching that. And while it's not earned income, we typically try not to charge for any of our events as far as attendee fees. I think we all wrestle with that. We played with just charging maybe a token $10 for the students because, you know, you get about a 60% no-show rate when people sign up for events. And if they have to part with the precious $10, not that we're going to make any money, nor is that an income producer, they tend to show up even though they don't part with the dollars until the last 48 hours. So you're sitting there with questionable registrations, but certainly a revenue model we're trying to figure out to both entice them to get in the room, because we know when they get there, they're going to value the input, and to try to lower our no-show rates.
We've seen an increase in no-shows after the pandemic, I think, both virtual and in-person activities. It seems the idea of honoring an RSVP is a lost art, maybe. So Bruce, I know you specifically talked about an advisory board and the fundraising. I know I consider fundraising to be a huge part of my job. And it's just, we spend a lot of time working with advancement officers, working with, in our case, it's almost all alumni donations. Does anybody else have an advisory board, and any, I guess I'll say it that way, an advisory board or other pros and cons or strategies that they've used to help raise money from alumni?
We have a
complicated enough
we have
question.
we have an internal advisory board, which is actually made of all of our deans, which is relatively new to us. It's been super helpful because obviously they're the decision makers. They have the development officers that can point us to who they're working with. And then we are currently working on an external board, which will be more of an alumni group that can work with us, find individuals not only for philanthropic monies, but also for help with mentorship in different groups.
Okay. When we first started, we did have an advisory board. And so that's something that we've talked about bringing back. And we also have the steering committee that consists of the deans and the faculty. So, but the steering committee, and we did recently receive another a grant that does require us to have an external advisory board. So that's what we're in the process of creating now.
I know, Bruce, you mentioned your board is a pay to play. I know we have one of those too, where it's always a fun dance between asking for advice and asking for money or engagement. You know, different asks, but those boards are a great way to raise money, but they're also a lot of work, right? Do you have any insights in your experience, Bruce?
Yeah, a lot of salmon salad at the university club lunches, trying to recruit people. I think I had salmon coming out of my ears, but it starts though, Jeff, with their engagement. So I don't, and I'd say a quarter of them are DePaul alums. The other 3/4 are just successful entrepreneurs. I mean, the benefit of being in Chicago is we've got a very rich pool of successful entrepreneurs to draw from. But I would say the first 6 months, I'm not asking for a check. If I get their name, whether it's from advancement or on my own, I just start with a simple ask of coming and talking to my class. Usually the students sell the speaker on how great they are. And then it kind of builds from there. Okay, now would you mind working with a student as a mentor? And then, I don't want to use a fishing pole analogy, but you kind of start reeling them in to the point. Because really, I'd rather have their engagement than their money, Jeff. I know it sounds weird, but from that standpoint, usually if they've got their time and they're invested in helping us, the money typically almost always flows at some point when the time is right. So I think if you lead with the money card, you might lose them before they even feel connected to the university. So I think it's so key to get them involved and engaged, and then you can figure when the timing is right for them to be a donor.
Excellent. We had a question about tech transfer. I don't think anybody in this panel has talked about tech transfer. I know at our university, it's a totally separate operation. I'm not sure our university makes any net revenue from tech transfer at this point, so there's not much to share, but certainly the goal is for that to be a profit center at some point. But it is totally separate from our entrepreneurship center. We try to support that, but we don't have a financial arrangement there. I don't know, does anybody else have any connection with tech transfer at their school?
We have no tech transfer office, but I'm going to yield to Paul because MSU's killing it up there with tech transfer.
Yeah, it's the same to us. We don't generally get the funding directly to us, our entrepreneurial center, but just history on the MSU Foundation. We did have a few home runs. You know, we always say our Gatorade. We had a cancer drug that hit a good $300 to $350 million. So we get residuals off that.
So
Cool.
at Bowie, our executive director was part of the team to sort of design the tech transfer office and is in the process of hiring. So I haven't been directly involved, but it will be a separate office.
Jeff, this is Jeff Hornsby. Do you mind if I chime in?
I don't think I have a choice, Jeff. Go for it.
I just did, right? Thank you. We partner with our commercialization office. And we have a couple of MBA classes that are designed to take on projects from faculty and other sources of IP to work on a commercialization plan. And we've worked on a couple things that have led to over $100 million exits as the venture got fully developed and launched and built up. And so that's our side of it, is having MBA students led by, it's two faculty members. A lot of you know Tony Mendez, but and then Tony Lupino from our law school. They teach that jointly and run that. And it's been very successful in terms of helping do some of the due diligence and moving that IP along.
Excellent. And do you guys get any money out of that? If the company, does the Entrepreneurship Center get any of the licensing revenue or anything else, or does that go through you?
No, but it helps. We're heavily funded by the Kauffman Foundation, and part of their initiative is to help move UMKC forward with commercialization and venture launch as well. So it's part of what we do because we get money from the Kauffman Foundation.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. So there've been, talking about different ways to get money into the center. We've talked a little bit about fundraising, and I'm curious, do any of our panelists have a development officer, or I guess a relationship with the development office or the advancement team? Anything that you've had experience with there that might be of use to our panelists? Like, do you have a particular development officer that works directly with you? Is it the same person that's connected to the business school? Or I know at Georgetown we have sharp elbows come out when you start talking to wealthy alumni. And so any advice or experiences that you guys have that others might learn from?
We've got a guy, Joe Effington. Jeff, I think a lot of advancement offices, it's a revolving door. Just right when you get working with them, they take off for greener pastures. We're hoping we hang on to Joe for a while. He came here from University of Chicago. So he's assigned to the business school, which we're under. But I think as far as, when they sit down with a donor, they don't necessarily know what their hot button's going to be. And so that's why we provide these menu of services. So if the word entrepreneurship pops up, he's ready to go. But he's been unbelievably participatory. I have a standing monthly call with him. I probably see him every other week. And he's got a couple opportunities that might be coming up for 6-7 figure gifts, which should be great, but it takes a lot. And he's probably put 2 or 3 of the board members, he introduced 2 or 3 of the current board members to us. So
Yeah, I find it's really important, even if time consuming, it's really important to stay close to your development officers, make sure they know what's going on. Some of you all mentioned engagement opportunities, give people a way to engage before just giving them a dollar, before sending them a bill or an invoice. So yeah, we spend a lot of effort to try to figure out ways to get people involved and then make it easy for the development officers when it is time to make an ask.
We had on the development side, we had a pretty unique situation because years past, development allowed us to hire an engagement officer. So we hired one so it's not a full development officer. And we just till recently, very recently, was able to switch that person to a full development officer just for our shop. And I like, Jeff, I like the analogy of sharp elbows. Very true. Because we are housed in Broad, but we're open to all majors. So it's great that we play nice with a lot of our development officers, but it does get a little sticky when if they're from a certain school.
100%. The logos on the background behind me are, we branded our program as Georgetown University, even though I am reporting into the business school. And one reason for that is that we serve the whole university, but another reason is very specifically to prepare for the day when an alum of arts and sciences is a successful entrepreneur and wants to write the big check. We've had those days where, the development officers want to say, oh, that's not a business school alum. And, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the business school dean or somebody else that's making the case. Well, we serve the whole university, therefore alums of any program can support us. Doesn't always, the logic doesn't always win those battles, but I would recommend thinking of your programs that way if it's at all possible for you in different universities to do that. All right, we're getting towards the end of our time here. I want to thank all of our panelists. I've learned a few things. I hope our attendees have as well. We've got some real quick closing comments here. Let's see. I think I've got this. Yes. Our next virtual connection series is March 31st. I want to point out we're going to start an hour earlier that day, or we're going to run the program starting at noon Eastern instead of 1 p.m. Eastern. We have at least one panelist who's going to be tuning in from Europe, and I think that helps a little bit for that time zone difference. And you can mark your calendar for April 28th and May 19th back at the normal 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be announcing those topics in the near future. With that, I'm going to turn over to GCEC's amazing executive director, Holly DeArmond, to make some final closing comments. And once again, thanks to all of our panelists and attendees. Over to you, Holly.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It's always nice to be introduced by you. And thanks, Jeff, for moderating. This was a great panel. And I'm just here to say what you heard today is what the GCEC is all about. We're all about being a community that shares best practices. You can follow us on LinkedIn to learn more best practices and news. You can go to our website where Nadine and the team load all of these virtual connections onto our website, and you can see these PowerPoint presentations, watch the recording, or share it with your colleagues. So like Jeff said, building on today's session in March, we're going to focus on alumni engagement into EIR programs, mentor networks, and that type of thing. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
See you next month.